Welcome, witches, to today's best books of 2026 so far. I am looking at the top 10 books that I have read in the first half of 2026, and I'm going to let you know what they are. I try to put these in order from 10 to 1. Sometimes those opinions change based on my mood for the day. 10. My 10th favorite book I read this year is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is the second in the Vicious series. There's a third one coming out, I think is Victorious, which is the last one in the series, and I'm really excited for that. This is a superhero-ish type book. They are EOs, or extraordinaries. In the first one, you're seeing them get their powers and betrayal. And this one, they're back and figuring out life. I don't want to say too much about any of it because I don't want to spoil it. But if you really like a superhero, an extraordinary, a human with powers that are all different, I would highly recommend to check this one out, or the series in general. The next one is a romance. I actually have a lot of romance on this selection, and of course they're all Ryland's suggestions, so again, shout out to her. But Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. This is about Lenny. She's grieving the loss of her best friend due to cancer, and then Miles is grieving the loss of his father. They're kind of going on this journey together. She's nannying for Miles's niece. Miles has recently come into the niece's life, and he's asked Lenny to help him figure out, how do I bond with this young girl? I've been around children and I just really want to understand. I really did enjoy this. I ended up reading this in audiobook, and let me tell you, that author did such a fantastic job. The ups and downs and the emotion that this author was able to put so authentically feeling into the story was fantastic. A lot of that has to come down to the writer. She did a really great job of having very authentic conversations of grief, a very authentic arc with grief. For instance, there would be times that she's sobbing and crying and so sad about something, and then by the end of it she's laughing, she's remembering the good times, and I think that that's very realistic. I really like that the author wrote these characters in a very authentic way. She never told you who characters were going to be, they just were who they were, and so it made them feel very alive, very real. And I just think that the conversations of grief, their slow bond to finding each other, because it started off just kind of as friendship and a bond in grief, they fell in love, and I just think that that was done so spectacularly. Number 8 was the Fish and Chip Shop Detective series. I really had a fun time. I do talk about this in my June reading wrap up, which I technically filmed right before this, but I've also posted right before this. I'll have it linked down below. Go check it out. But I really like this. This is a cozy murder mystery. Ryan and Maggie are trying to solve different murders. For example, in the first one, Ryan is accused of being the murderer because he happened to be the last person to see this person alive. And Maggie is helping him. He had come to this town to be with his girlfriend, then his girlfriend was like PCO, and he had no job anywhere to live. Maggie kind of took Ryan under his wing to help him out and got him the job at the fish and chip shop. And then the second one is the owner of the fish and chip shop has passed away and been murdered, and they have to solve it. So this was a really fun series. I liked Maggie and Ryan's relationship. I liked following them through the different mysteries, and I just really liked the Cornish slang, and it just felt like it's such a world. I gotta be there. I absolutely loved it. Number 7, The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I really did enjoy this. This is, best way to explain it is, one murder, 15 suspects. Can you uncover the truth? This is about a play group where somebody's dead, but you don't know who's dead until like 3/4 of the way through the book. But there's these detective lawyer helpers. I don't remember exactly what they're called, but they're helping go through this case to solve the mystery. This is not told in a traditional sense. This is told strictly through emails, text messages, things like that. There's nothing told in a kind of traditional form of a story. For example, you are solving this along with them. So you're reading emails, text messages, things like that to try and solve the story. And then occasionally the two lawyer helpers, God, why can't I think of what they're called? will have text message conversations, kind of like, oh, but I thought this, kind of theorizing stuff, and you get to be a part of that, like, oh yes, that's what I was thinking, or oh, I hadn't thought about that. So it's really a story that you're solving right along with it, and through a whole lot of this, you don't know who's murdered until the end, and then you have to like reflect back on what you've read or learned. And I really like this. There is a lot of suspects in this, obviously 15 suspects. There's a lot going on. I don't think it's too overwhelming, but I really enjoyed it. This was my first Janice Howlett, and I'm definitely continuing on with her. Number 6, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This is following Emily Wilde. She's going off to different villages, different places, trying to write an encyclopedia based on fairies. I really liked the very academic style of this writing. There are footnotes. Let me see if I can find one. So I really enjoy that there are actual like footnotes in the story. It just felt so academic, and I loved that aspect of it. I think Emily Wilde is a fun character. She's intelligent, she's entertaining. Of course, the dog, can't not love the dog. I was going to read the other ones, but there's a 4th one coming out in January. And so I think I'm going to hold off and read the last 3 in the series more towards the end of the year, but it's definitely a series that I want to continue reading. I definitely picked this up because of Leandra the Zero TBR, and I'm very happy that I did. Another one is a romance recommendation from the lovely Miss Rylan, and that is Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt. This is an older couple, Ren and Ellis Bird. They were married for many, many years. Then about 5 years ago, they got a divorce. They've had some kind of struggles, some hardships in their relationship that they never fully worked through. Now their son is going off to college. They're going to road trip their son up there and then road trip back. And during that time, they're going to refine themselves. I really liked Ellis Bird. I liked his kind of nature. It reminded me a lot of my husband, in the very caring, the very go to the end of the world for you. He was a really great guy. He was understanding of the problems that he caused. I also appreciated that she also took accountability in this. So I guess what I'm saying is I like that there was accountability on both sides. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, these people are too like perfect. But I did like that. This is kind of the same with Promise Me Sunshine. I really like the way that the author wrote these characters, wrote them very authentically. It never felt like you were telling me who the characters were. The author wrote them as who they were, so you could see that and you could learn that and truly feel like these were real characters. And I really did enjoy this. This does have a little bit of smut. Given their background and their history, I think it makes sense how they added that in there and when they added that in there. So I think that that really helped with the story, and I would really recommend. I really enjoyed this. This is a second chance romance, and I would say it was a very well done second chance romance. Number 4 is actually kind of an entire series. I read the first one at Christmas time, and then I ended up binging all of them at the beginning of the year, but that is the Unwind series. So the ones I read this year, it starts with Unwind, but then I read Unholy, Unsold, Undivided, and Unbound. This is quite the fascinating series. Neil Shusterman has quickly become a go-to favorite author. I read this and his Arcasai series. I read that last year. All of them have been 4 or 5-star books. They're so fantastic. But this is following this very dystopian type world that is like oddly close to reality, but like so far away at the same time. You can choose to unwind or like retroactively remove your child after they turn 13, between the ages of 13 and 18. If, for instance, you decide that they're too much trouble, they're a problem child, like maybe I don't want this anymore. And yeah, or there's people who are ties who's had children solely for the purpose that they're going to be like their donation, and it is kind of religious, their religious donation to the world to give their kid away. And then there's also, so Connor is one that he was kind of a problem child, like not like super problem, but like a little bit difficult. His parents decide to unwind him. He finds the unwind order. Once you sign the unwind order, it can't be taken back. So he finds it, his parents don't know, and he starts being like super sweet to his parents, like guilt tripping them to the hills. Love that. Then there's Lev, who's the tithe for his family. So he's always known, he's accepted it. And then there's Risa, who lived in a state home, essentially like a foster care. And when she turns 13, they decide, you've really achieved all that we think you're capable of. You're a really great pianist, so somebody else who's worth more can take your hands, be a great pianist, and like move on. So she did nothing wrong. She tried to do everything right, but they just decided like, yeah, you've met your potential. They all end up together trying to escape, and they start fighting and kind of becoming the voice of the anti-unwind movement. There's also this concept that if you have a child, you can go set it on somebody's doorstep. If you're not caught, that family then has to take that child in. If you're caught, then you're stuck taking care of that child. And there's just a lot of those conversations about like how crazy this is, but how universally accepted it is. There is times they talk about it was a war that nobody won, because there was the pro-life and pro-choice essentially groups trying to fight for what was right. Somebody threw out this crazy idea and they're like, yeah, close enough, meets in the middle. And there's also the conversations of, and I think this is fascinating, I can make a thought, these like crazy concepts that you take such a simple, innocuous idea. I'm trying to think of one. So you like take an idea that's very simple and then you add something crazy to it. And I can't think of a good example, but you take a very innocuous idea and you add something slightly crazy and you're like, well, that doesn't quite make sense. And then you kind of hear it enough. There's enough people giving reason. You're like, okay, maybe I just don't understand. Like, oh, okay, we'll get there. And then you add a little bit more. So you don't go from like, we should all be able to murder everybody. Murder's the greatest thing ever right off the bat. It's kind of like, no, murder isn't good. But you say like, murder isn't good, period. And it's like, well, murder's okay if you're self-defense. This is a very good example. Well, okay, yeah, I guess. Well, murder's okay if you're threatened and you think there's going to be. I was trying to film while everybody was outside playing, but kids, aren't they fun? I actually love my kids. So yes, these would be number 4. Number 3 is Yesteryear. My friend still has my copy of Yesteryear, so I can't hold it up, but I loved it. This is by Carol Claire Burke. This is about a very traditional trad wife, social media. She wakes up then back in the past in the 1800s. You're going between both timelines, trying to figure out how did she wake up in the past? Why is she waking up in the past? When she's in the past, the people in her world are like her family, but they're not. You know, like she sees the similarities, but they're not. And you're following along. I really liked this story. I think it hits so perfectly the things in the conversations you see on social media about traditional tradwives, about family vlogging, for instance, the truthfulness that you see on social media. I liked that she was strong, she was independent, like she knew what she was doing, she was smart. She's not well liked. Like you're not necessarily going to like her, but you're intrigued enough to want to know more about her and her story. And so I think that the character development, the conversations, the pacing, all of it was fantastic. And at times you're just like, this is comedic. And that ending, not what I was expecting. I really like the direction that it went into. I just wish that we got to be a little bit more in the ending. It was a little short and abrupt. If that is her debut novel, which I believe it is, I can't imagine the thing she's going to write. And I'm very excited to read more of Carol Claire Burke's writing. Number 2, Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. Such a fantastic book. And honestly, this one and the first one, depending on the days, go hand in hand. But I really enjoyed this book. This is following Rosemary. She's recently been broken up with. She moves to this small town. She sees this girl named Ash at the farmer's market. She's always thought of herself as straight, but now she's enamored, like obsessed with this girl named Ash, and a budding relationship ensues. There are some smutty scenes in this, which I really liked. The characters are very intriguing. The storyline is very intriguing. It is smaller. It's fast-paced and it's gruesome, but I like that at times it's building to these gruesome scenes and it pulls back, and then the next time it goes a little bit farther, so it's not just like full out the entire time. You see a lot of red flags with Ash. You're like screaming at your book, Rosemary, stop, no. Then at sometimes it gets reasoned away and you're like, okay, maybe I was being over dramatic, like maybe I'm seeing it wrong, or like you start questioning yourself. The ending direction of this, you ain't gonna see it coming. Absolutely fantastic. Was it what I was expecting? Was it what I was kind of hoping for? No, it's 10 times better. Absolutely love the ending of this. The twists, the turns, like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing book, and I absolutely adored everything about it. I really have no critiques for it. Highly recommend. This is one that I had seen Spill the Reads recommend, and definitely agree. Worth the read. Last but not least, number 1 is The Change by Kristen Miller. I'm going to keep this short. I do talk about this in some shorts. I talk about this, I believe I have a vlog about it. Now I can't remember. And I do talk about it in my mid-year wrap-up. So I've talked about this quite a few times. This is following 3 women who are discovering that they have magical powers. One of them can see the dead, the ghosts of the dead. She can hear their voices. She uses her friends to help them move on and find peace. They team up because they each have different powers. One has flower powers, almost, you can like harness the earth and stuff. And then one has, it's a little bit of a superhero power. On my shorts review, somebody said what I couldn't put into words, and I so agree with this, that Joe's power seemed more superhero versus the others seemed magical. And so that felt a little bit off, and I do agree with it. And so it did feel different. She has like the power of like heat from harnessing her hot flashes. These women are snarky. They're funny. They're hilarious. You really like them in the fact that they're not pushovers. Their relationships that they build, because they didn't start off as friendships, they kind of build it through this time together. And you're just really going to love the characters. It is a longer book. However, it doesn't feel long. It moves quickly. I keep calling it Kristen Miller. Kirsten Miller. Okay? The Change by Kirsten Miller. And I just really adored this book. They uncover there's almost like an Epstein type situation happening on this island in this gated community, and they're going to go solve it. This really builds up to a crescendo of magic in the end. In the beginning, yes, it's there. It's not overly fantasy. It's not overly magic-y. But by the end of it, it just builds into this crescendo, and it ends, and it's fantastic, and it's just the right amount. It fits, and I absolutely adore. Highly recommend. So that is it for our top 10 books in the first half of 2026. Let me know, have you read any of these? What would be your top 10 books? And I will see you in the next one. Bye, witches.